If you've seen our website, we've just published a story. It is behind a paywall, but I'd urge you to go and read it. It's an important one, and it establishes the evidence trail, how the police finally managed to put together the trail of evidence against Prajwal Revanna. And to discuss what is there in the story, not all of it, of course, some parts of it, I'm being joined by Shivani Kava, who works with the Bengaluru Bureau, and our editor-in-chief, Dhanya, Rajendran, who edited this story and also has been working very closely on this story. Thank you, both of you, for joining us. I'll come to you first, Shivani. Shivani, I want to know from you, all the videos that we saw, over 2,000 of them, focused only on the women. There was nobody seen behind the camera. We could see some parts of it, the hand and private parts and all that. How did the police manage to establish that it was Prajwal behind the camera?
Well, Pooja, police had to rely on an array of evidence, including forensic, digital evidence, from understanding the voice heard in the video actually belonged to Prajwal, to comparing and analyzing if the body parts that were visible in the video, if it actually belonged to Prajwal. So these were some of the things that police had to, prove or match to build their case.
Okay, Dhanya, if we can look at the forensic evidence, right? Without giving away too much, of course, what is it that the police are now relying on? Because building an airtight case against Prajwal was seen like a challenge. So what is it that they are looking at?
So first, I just want to tell those people watching that this is, I think, the third video we're doing on Prajwal Revanna as in a discussion. The reason being that we believe that a follow-up like this is very necessary. There has been intermittent reporting on what the charge sheets are all about. Other media has reported about the charge sheet, but we thought we should wait till all the charge sheets are filed and then get proper information, which is why Shivani's story is very important, because she puts together all the three charge sheets. Now, there are primarily 5 women who have gone and complained against Prajwal, which includes a mother and a daughter duo. There are 3 charge sheets filed. So there's one charge sheet for the mother-daughter case, the second charge sheet, and a third charge sheet. The 4th charge sheet for the 5th woman's case has not been filed yet. So our story, which is called the trail, the evidence trail in the Prajwal Revanna case, deals with 3 charge sheets. Now, as you asked, what is the forensic evidence? In the first charge sheet, which is the mother and the daughter, there is no such forensic evidence.
Yeah.
It is merely on the basis of the statements given by the mother and the daughter. The mother was raped and the daughter was asked to strip over video multiple times, or I think once or twice, right? In that, only the depositions of the victims are there and also other people who work. So that is a case which really hinges on what these women will eventually say in court.
Right.
All that the police could prove is that, okay, the location is the same, as in Prajwal was present in this particular place on that day when this is supposed to have happened. That's all they could prove. Now, Shivani's story is primarily about the second and the third charge sheets. In the second charge sheet and third charge sheet, in both they could match the voice, right?
Yes.
So for those, a lot of people obviously have not seen these videos. The videos are basically a man taking a video. So he's holding the phone like this and taking the video. All that we see is the woman on the other side, right? And at times you see the man's hands, and then you see his genitals. So they did try to match the voice, right? What did they do and how did they do that?
So basically, when Prajwal was in the custody, they took Prajwal's voice samples and they matched it. They sent it to a Bengaluru lab, and the FSL lab matched the voice which belonged to Prajwal and the ones in the video. So there are in the video, and as we have spoken to the survivors, they Prajwal asked them to strip, and there are voices where he's instructing people what to do. So that voice has been matched with the Prajwal in both the cases, which is the farm help, the second case, and the third case, who is a JDS leader.
Yeah. So in the mother and daughter's case, the video was too short. No, in the daughter's case, there's no video. In the mother's case, there is a video, but the video was too short for them even to do any kind of forensic analysis.
This is the video of sexual assault that Prajwal himself has recorded, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is, other than voice, what is the evidence, right? This is where I think Shivani's story has a detail which nobody else has had till now, which is that the police, the SIT, which is a special investigation team, decides that they have to compare his genitals. It is his penis, basically, which is seen in the video, to the penis in the video to Prajwal's. So what they asked Prajwal is to come for a medical examination, right?
Yes. So the first medical examination, Prajwal is okay with that. He's cooperated with the police. The second time, when they want to compare the visuals with the body parts that were visible in the video, which is his genitals and his hands, Prajwal was hesitant. He didn't cooperate. So what the SIT does next is they go to the court, they obtain an order, and later a panel of doctors is formed who then do a comparative analysis. Based on 2 studies from Turkey and Japan. And further, I think people should read it on our website.
Yeah. No, it's just a quick reminder. Prajwal does remain behind bars. We don't know when he will get bail, but the fact is that the rest of his family, all of them are very powerful individuals. A former Prime Minister, his uncle HD Kumaraswamy is now a sitting union minister. His father and mother and his brother are influential people in Hassan. So for the police to build a very scientific, airtight case is crucial, because even when Prajwal does get out, we cannot take a chance of the case collapsing. Dhanya, I want to come to you. What are the other DNA or forensic evidence, or even there is in one video, they have tried to match the background of what is seen in those videos with Prajwal's house, right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so they have done a lot of things. One is, of course, the voice. The second is matching the body parts. The third is the location itself. In fact, Shivani has gone case by case in her story, and she's explained as to in which case it matched, in which case it did not match. But let us remember that the forensic reports have not yet come in the body part thing. So, for example, the SIT has told the court that the doctors have said around 10 to 11 things are matching, but there is an eventual forensic report to come. And to all those watching, I would just want to say that do read the story. What we're discussing is basically the surface of the story. There's a lot more, including the fact that there is some DNA which they got from the sari of a woman, actually sari of 2 women, of which one was not good enough for a forensic test, but the other, there is a forensic test done. So in case that DNA does prove it is Prajwal's, then that's clinching evidence. But Pooja, what I want to just add here is that while we were meeting the police, one point that they kept making is that all this evidence is important. Yes, it is scientific, circumstantial evidence, but all these cases really hinge on what the women are going to tell the court, right? Because if they come and say that this was a consensual act, then the case just falls apart. So for the police, one big interest here and one big thing is to make sure that these women are kept safe, that there is not anybody influencing them, or there's nobody threatening them. Are they still kept in a safe house?
They were kept in a safe house, but they have been moved to a different location. They are working in different places. That's all the information we can give right now. But as Dhanya mentioned, now it all hinges on the statements by the survivors. And let's not forget that the forensic reports are yet to come. So as much as crucial and interesting those things sound, it also, at the end of the day, depends on what the survivors are.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that we're talking about real lives of people, right? These are people who worked in Hassan, who worked in their house, domestic workers, farm workers. At the end of the day, they have to get back to their lives at some point, look at their livelihood. And while doing all this, there is this shadow of danger, of threat on them. And that's why it's so important that the police keep them safe, right, Dhanya?
Like, I don't want to say exactly which one of the complainants, but I had spoken to one of them, and her son has typhoid. So she was really thinking about how will she manage now, because the son is not well. And then she has been, so they are all from Mandya and Mysuru, but they have sort of been made to stay in Bangalore because it is safer for them, right? But she was wondering as to how will she manage the expenses. I think they're going to approach the state for some sort of money, which is some sort of a compensation which the state can give complainants. So for the SIT, really the challenge now is in ensuring the trial happens fast. Now, for the trial to happen fast, first, all the forensic reports have to be in place. In India, one thing we have seen, Pooja, you and me, in so many cases we have covered, the forensic reports take such a long time because there's so much of pending work at these forensic labs. It can take 6 months, 1 year. So they are hoping that these forensic reports will come fast, whether it's positive or negative. They can at least go ahead, ask for a trial court to frame charges, right? One more thing which I think the SIT was talking about is in clubbing all these cases in some way or the other, whether the court will allow them to do, right?
How will that help, if one of you can give a perspective on that? Clubbing the cases, how will that help the police's case against Prajwal? Will it strengthen it further? They
are only contemplating it. They are only contemplating it now. They were telling us that they are looking at because if there is a pattern, right? These are all women who have gone through a similar pattern of abuse.
And the trial will happen faster.
Exactly. So they were looking at that. I don't know if that's possible because all the 3 charge sheets have been filed. There were many other things that in fact, one of the things that we kept asking the police, maybe Shivani can explain that this was a team full of women police officers. The SIT ensured that these were women police officers. And one thing which really intrigued, concerned me is, imagine the mental health of a police officer who has to continuously watch these visuals, right?
Yeah, and so from the beginning, SIT has been making statements, especially when this comes to the case when Prajwal landed here in
Yes.
Bengaluru from Germany. The team of police officers who were, escorting him from one place to another during spot inspection. It was a team of women police officers, and the SIT was also formed in a way where two of the leading officers were women, and to
It does make a strong statement.
it does.
They wanted to tell the women that your safety will be taken care of, but what it
No,
does
but,
to the
but
women.
imagine,
Yeah.
I mean, what is your evidence in the case? Your
Yeah.
primary evidence in the case are 2,000 videos, okay?
Yeah.
Now, there may be 5 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute, whatever, but imagine just watching, rewinding, watching, because you are looking at every visual to see if this man's face is visible in even one of the videos, right? Because even if in any of the 2,000 videos, some of it may have been consensual acts also. Even in that, if his face is visible and they can match the location,
Yeah.
there's so the trauma of simply going through these tapes. I mean, this is something which we have consistently asked. How did you all go about it? For us as journalists, simply like looking at those 1 or 2 videos which we saw on social media or on messaging platforms, and then for Shivani herself, she had been to all these villages, talked to those people. That itself is traumatic, right? So I think in this case, we have to give it to the police also, because it is not an easy case. The
Yeah.
kind of evidence itself is very overwhelming.
I mean, not just that. If you recall, like some of the doctors who were supposed to examine Prajwal for that comparative analysis, they were initially hesitant, is what we were told.
Hesitant because?
To basically, such kind of a comparative analysis hasn't been done in India before, and like you're basing your what you're doing is based on a research done in some other country, and they had to.
Yeah, because in court, see, whatever is a forensic evidence, whatever is a DNA evidence, or you've compared his penis with the penis in the video, it is going to be challenged in court, right? The people are going to question, how did you do this? For example, I think one of those papers, the Turkish or the Japanese, I'm not sure, it talks about a particular video in which a man's penis is seen, and then they compare it to the real man, and he has some disease, some pigmentation. So they could identify. Now, if that is not so in Prajwal's case, we don't. So I'm sure the doctors were reticent because they're also answerable before the court, right? But eventually they agreed and they've done it. So in one way, it is also if at all they can manage to get a conviction in this case, I feel that it will be a path-breaking case in many ways. But I don't know, somehow after all these years, I'm a bit skeptical when it comes to court cases and whether there will actually be justice.
Yeah, but what's important is while the police have done their job, they're also above them are politicians, right? It doesn't matter which party. Congress is in power today, but once the spotlight moves away, it's often said that the victims have nobody left with them. They're probably legal aid and just themselves.
No, even when the Congress is in power.
Yeah.
The JDS may be with the BJP right now, and they are positioned against the Congress. But with all responsibility, I'm saying, even if it's a Congress on power, most politicians behave like it's one big family.
Correct.
Right? I mean, didn't the Congress know that Prajwal Revanna tapes were going around? They should have arrested him much before he escaped, right? They did not. So let's not live under any illusion assumption that because one party is in power, these are all people who have had power in Karnataka for decades.
Absolutely. And they have friends in each other.
Exactly. And they've all worked with each other, either in governments or in parties.
Absolutely.
So I think this much has happened only because of public pressure and civic society's pressure.
Yeah. Let's
see how it goes. But we, of course, will keep our attention on the story. And I want to just tell everybody again that this is behind a paywall. People have been asking us. In fact, I had a fight with somebody on Instagram who said that your paywall is very strange. What is this way of asking?
Yeah.
So I have only one question back. I mean, the choice before us is to then take advertisements from governments or corporates, and that government is going to tell us, don't write like this. Prajwal Revanna was our former ally. Why take all the trouble? We are asking our readers to support us, and putting a story behind a paywall is one way, because then you are not giving us money as charity, right? We are also giving you a service in return. That's why stories are behind paywall.
Also, Dhanya, every story that we do is important, right? Because people say,
and
it's an important story. Why behind a paywall?
Exactly. And we put, I think, 1 out of 50 stories behind a paywall.
No, not just that. So we've been covering Prajwal Revanna case since April. And all the other stories have been free to read. They were outside the paywall. And even our ground reports, which we did in Hole Narsipura, Hassan, and there was a profile that my colleague Nandini Chandrasekhar did on Prajwal, because when this came out, apart from him being the grandson of a former prime minister, barely anybody knew who Prajwal Revanna was. So we
And what his influence was.
Yes. So we have covered each and every, most of the aspects of this case, and now charge sheets have been filed. And now, like, I think we have our credibility here, that we have done so much of reportage, and now you can pay and read our reports.
Our young paywall champion. That's because journalists these days also have to understand that if you want to work independently, you have to do these things to the audience. That's all we have to say. Do read that story.
Yeah.
And we will keep at this. We'll keep reporting more. Let's see what happens eventually if or when Prajwal Revanna does get bail.
Yeah, absolutely. On our part, our commitment is that we will continue tracking this very closely. Our track record has shown that. But on your part, the only request we have, and we won't be apologetic about it, right? Because we've done good work. We've put some solid journalism behind every story, and we're very proud of the work we do. If you support and if you like what we do, one way of showing that is by reading this story. Either you can become a paid TNM subscriber, or you can just log into this one story and read. This is not all. There is a lot that you get when you become a subscriber, but we'll keep that for some other time. For now, signing off on behalf of Shivani and Dhanya.